Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Welcome to Ask Rob and Rob, where for the last 227 weeks in a row, exactly the same thing has happened. We've heard 2 questions and we've given 2 answers. Today, shock horror, something slightly different is happening. We are still answering a question, but this question is taken from the Property Hub forum. So this isn't a radical change of direction forever. You can still get your question in on 013 808 00035 or by going to propertyhub.net/ask. But Rob, why don't you read out this particular forum post and hopefully everything will become clear.
Okay, so we had a forum post on the Property Hub forum and it was about Property Hub Live, and that was the title of the post. And the person who posted said, when I first saw the announcement for Property Hub Live, I was really excited to attend Property Hub's biggest event to date. With such a high level of anticipation, I'm sure I wasn't the only one to be extremely disappointed to see the details of the event published over the last 2 days. I felt that hosting the event in London has alienated a large proportion of the northern-based hubbers who will listen to the podcasts every week. Surely somewhere more accessible, such as Birmingham, would have been appropriate for the majority of listeners. Secondly, the cost! ! ! When I saw the tickets were costing over £100 per person, they're £106, I gasped. Despite hearing so much advice from Rob and Rob, particularly during their chat with Mike Winnett about paying over the odds for property events, having to pay £100 for a Property Hub event was the last thing I expected. But it seems now Property Hub is just as much about the profits as it is the content. When you combine the logistical bias, the cost of travel and the cost of tickets, I have to say I am extremely disappointed with Property Hub. This is not what I expected, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels this way. In a way, I'm grateful for this post because it's made us aware of something that we just didn't think was happening, that some people might be disgruntled, that we are charging for some education for the first time for an event. So, as the title says, have we sold out?
Have we? Well, Property Hub Live, for those who don't know, is a full day of property education followed by us recording the Property Podcast live on stage, followed by our biggest ever Property Hub meetup. If you go to propertyhub.net/events, you'll see the schedule for the day. You'll also see the venue, which is pretty amazing. So you could, of course, accuse us of selling out if we're putting on this event to make loads of money. You know, we've been doing this podcast for 7 years and maybe finally it's time to cash in and we're going to hold this day and we're going to make enough money to make the last 7 years of putting out a podcast for free all suddenly worthwhile. The mistake that we've made if we're trying to do that is we've priced the event, so even if we sell all the tickets at full price, by the time we paid for the venue and the food and the travel of the speakers and all the other costs that you get around this event, we're guaranteed to make a small loss. So it doesn't seem like we've sold out, or if we are selling out, we're doing it pretty poorly. But Rob, that does raise the question of, well, why are we doing any of this? We're putting on an event that's guaranteed to lose money. We put out the podcast for free every week and that makes us lose money. Hosting an online forum loses us money. Are we just the worst business people ever?
Well, that's debatable, Rob, and maybe that's all the podcast. But we make these decisions deliberately. We're not naive. We know that it costs us money to do these things. But that's okay, because like we just said, we know we're making a loss. And it's worth doing. It's worth the effort. Because we, week in, week out, pay for the podcast to go out live. Now, I'm sure the vast majority of people appreciate that, and we're not moaning, but the reason why we do this is, first of all, we love it. There's no doubt about it. This is a passion project for us. The reason why we created the forum is because we wanted a space for the community to be able to talk. The reason why we created a magazine is that we wanted to express ourselves in a different way. And the reason for creating Property Hub Live, we wanted a celebration of all things property. And we're really, really excited about the day. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be around 400 hubbers joining us in one space, the most that we've ever been able to get in one space, not just for an hour or two, for a whole day, packed with quality speakers, and Rob and me. And yes, again, it will make a small loss, but it doesn't matter because it's something that we will personally enjoy. We're enjoying the process of putting the day together with our team. We'll absolutely love the event, although we'll probably be absolutely knackered by the end of it. And then if it's well received, we'll go and do another one later this year in Manchester. The reason we're able to churn out so much free content, and there's the blogs and the YouTube videos as well, is that the audience we speak to is huge. We love that and we're humbled by it. It's a bit weird. And that's great. What we have in the background are some businesses that we hardly ever talk about. And this might be the first time you realise that we have businesses in the background. We don't push them on our shows. We give the occasional mention to update you. And that's okay, because we only need a small fraction of that huge audience to make those businesses worthwhile, keep us going. And then that allows us to push out all the content that we do on multiple platforms week in, week out, like we have done for the last 7 years. So someone else on the forum thread said, why are we doing it then if we're making a loss? And that's why. Because we love it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then hopefully, of all that goodwill and effort that we put out into the Property Hub community will be welcomed. And a small proportion of those people will then go, you know what? I like these guys. I want to work with them. Just to be clear, our services and products aren't going to be pushed at the event. There's nothing of significant value to buy at the event. There's no upsells to more events afterwards. So that's it. The reason why we're doing it is because, a bit selfishly, we want to, because it'll be really fun to do. And it'll celebrate all things property.
Yeah, and the way that we choose to make that work is to charge just about enough to break even. You could do events like this for free or extremely cheap, but if you did that, then there'd have to be something else to buy in the future to make it work. That's how a lot of events do work. They're the first step in a longer funnel, but we just choose to keep it very straightforward. In the same way as we do with separating the content and the services that we offer. We like the model that tens of thousands of people get to benefit from content for free or very close to it, because a far smaller number of people choose to take up a service that they want and need. We could read out adverts on the podcast every week. We could charge for access to the forum, but we choose not to do it that way because that's the way that works for us. No model's right or wrong, but that's just how we choose to do it. Yeah, I think it's worth saying that we are far from perfect. We will make bad decisions. We have made bad decisions before, and where we do our best to own up to it and to put things right. But there will always be people who are determined to impute the worst possible motives on people. And sadly, I think that's quite a modern thing. You seem to see it all the time. People will leap on something that somebody has done or said and go to the worst possible reason that they could be doing or saying that thing, not particularly backed up by any facts. But just because I suppose it's exciting or titillating to think that this person might have slipped up and be revealing their true character. And I think to an extent that's what's happening here. I think perhaps people are suspicious because they don't understand the model as we've just described it. But we've had this before. We had a comment of someone, we upload all our old podcast episodes to YouTube for people who don't listen to podcasts on their phone but prefer to stream them on YouTube. We stick them all on there. And we had a comment for someone saying, oh, I bet they're only putting all these old episodes up there so they can get the ad revenue off them. And it's like, we don't run ads against our YouTube videos. We've deliberately unticked the box where you can have adverts displaying against your videos because the amount of money we'd make off it is insignificant and we don't want to ruin everyone's experience with adverts.
So we never thought we'd have to agree with this podcast, but we have. And hopefully now that explains to the more sceptical-minded people of why we do what we do. And to be fair, actually, I'm grateful that that post has gone up. I said that in the forum post, I replied to it. I am happy because we were just oblivious to that people were wired that way, wouldn't think that way. But it's okay, we're all different. And now we're able to address it to help you understand. We love that we have a community big enough to have an event at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium with 400 hubbers. Amazing. That is a privileged position to be. Sometimes it's just about having fun and making sure the community has fun. And that's what we're doing here. You know what? For some people, £100 will be too much. And we know that, and that's okay because everyone's in different positions. So what we will be doing, as we always intended to do, is record as much as we can throughout the day and put them out as podcasts in subsequent weeks, because that's what we like to do. We don't like to make money from our content, and we never will. And as long as people keep enjoying that content and taking action on it, that's all we need as motivation to carry on.
So if you don't want us to carry on, you'll need to let us know by Thursday, because that's when the next property podcast is coming out. I'm looking forward to that one. So until then, enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.